Welcome back to the nerve center of whispers, where quiet glances speak volumes and every murmur has its own rhythm. You are watching Secrets Behind the Stars, the home of stories that rarely make it out of the green rooms and the car rides with tinted windows. We're grateful you chose to spend your time with us. Before we untie the knot that stretches from Istanbul to Barcelona, make sure you're subscribed. And if you believe in deep dives and carefully told truths, hit that join button below. Your support keeps the lights on and the questions loud. Take a breath, because today is about departures, hushed confessions, and the bravery it takes to walk away from what everyone else insists you should stay and salvage. It began on a washed-out morning at Istanbul airport, the kind that usually swallows secrets into the gray. This time, the secret wasn't hiding. Cemre Arda walked straight through the terminal toward international departures, flanked only by her manager and a porter struggling with heavy suitcases. This didn't look like a quick getaway or a casual break. It had the weight of finality. Cemre moved like someone who had made a decision and was prepared to live with its consequences. Sunglasses shielded her face, not just from popping flashes, but from the sting of eyes that looked like they'd run out of tears and patience. A reporter dared to ask the question nobody had the courage to hold, and for a moment, she paused. Her fingers tightened around her passport. She didn't sell a story about summer projects or time off. She said, quietly but firmly, "I need a change, that's all," then disappeared into the VIP lounge, leaving behind a corridor buzzing with 100 interpretations. Those words were not publicity filler. They sounded like the final sentence of a chapter she refused to reread. And as hours passed, the scope of her moves started to surface. Rumors from the real estate world spilled through the cracks. Cemre wasn't just flying, she was relocating. A purchase in Barcelona, Spain, they said. A historic residence, hidden from tourist trails but close enough to feel the warm pulse of the sea and the art that lingers in every alley. Voices from her circle whispered, she wants to start fresh, far from the noise, close to herself. Barcelona isn't random. It's anonymity wrapped in color, a place that embraces reinvention without questions. But why now? And is she moving towards something, someone, or away from what became impossible to bear? We've all heard the soothing spin of a new chapter. But here at Secrets Behind the Stars, we know people don't rip up roots unless the earth beneath them has turned sour. Was Istanbul suffocating her? Or was it the tangle of people and promises that made breathing feel like a task? You can dress pain in new clothes, but it always reveals itself the moment your guard slips. And someone's guard slipped, hard. The spotlight fixated on luggage and gate numbers while the real storm blew in a week earlier, far from cameras. Insiders close to the duo tell us Gökberk Yildirim was deeply involved in the days leading up to Cemre's decision. According to sources, a tense, emotionally loaded conversation unraveled whatever fragile equilibrium they had. Gökberk, typically composed and controlled, reportedly lost that steady grip. When he learned her plan was not a threat but a certainty, he tried to steer her away from the edge. People who witnessed the aftermath described a man rattled by more than rumor, someone staring at a door that might never open again. "I don't get why you're leaving now, when things could be better between us," he allegedly told her. Those words didn't sound like a colleague at all. They sounded like history begging not to be archived. Raw. Reckless. Too honest to be rehearsed. Naturally, this raises questions. What did he mean by, "things could be better"? Did something between them spark again when nobody was looking? Or was this the final appeal from a love that lost its timing and couldn't find its way back? The ones who knew them best as on-screen dreamers and off-screen enigmas are left reading between lines that neither ever promised to draw. And that uncertainty is its own kind of heartbreak. Now, we turn to you, our Secrets Behind the Stars community. Was Cemre right to walk away to protect herself, her peace, her art? Or should she have stayed to face the conflict head-on, even if it meant one more round of questions without answers? Is leaving an escape, or is it strength in motion? Tell us below, and if you want to voice your thoughts with flair, join our inner circle for badges and perks that give your voice a stage. In this world, personal storms always touch career skies. What we learned next reframed the entire picture. This departure wasn't just soul work, it was strategy. An industry whisper became a roar. Cemre has a lead offer for a European series. A heavyweight project bankrolled by a Spanish studio eager to blend Turkish depth with European minimalism. The character is complex, morally intricate, a role that demands a performer who can live in the gray and make us believe it. And here's the twist that turned industry chatter into a headline. Months ago, producers approached Gökberk Yildirim for a role in that very project. He passed. He said no. For reasons still debated by agents and armchair experts, he let it go. So when Cemre said yes, it spoke volumes without a single interview. She chose a path he declined. She stepped onto a stage he left empty. One veteran journalist summed it up. She's learning how to breathe where his choices no longer define the temperature of her room. While Cemre's horizon widened with the sweep of a city by the sea, Gökberk stayed with the echo. Since she left, he has embraced a silence that bites. He was seen exiting a high-end spot in Gökberk, alone. Descriptions were cold, serious, unreadable. When faced with questions about Cemre, he didn't break stride. He slid into his car and vanished behind glass. But people close to him paint a messier truth. They say he's puzzled, hurting, clinging to unfinished conversations. He didn't see it happening like this, confided a friend. He thought there was still air in the room, still time. In the days after their last exchange, messages were sent, many, we hear. Messages that remain unopened, or at least unanswered. Silence can be merciless. It can be a seal pressed onto a letter that says, nothing more, not now, maybe never. The audience that adored their chemistry, the same fans who turned casual scenes into love stories, is split down the middle. Outside the studio where Cemre delivered some of her most remembered performances, a fan tried to explain the ache of a country watching its favorite almost love change shape. If she's going to be happy, then let her go and let her win, she told us with teary conviction. But it feels like they never finished the sentence. They always made us dream, even if they never said what we all wanted to hear. Social media became a gallery of divided prayers, some praising Cemre for daring to build a future on her own terms, others mourning the quiet burial of a pairing they dubbed perfect even without confirmation. And then came the resurfaced clip, weeks before the airport. In an interview that seemed harmless at the time, Cemre said, "Sometimes loving someone means setting them free." Suddenly, that line looked like a breadcrumb trail she'd been laying for us, and maybe for herself. Then, the post that stopped the scroll. No formal statement. No polished PR letter. Just a photograph taken on a sunlit terrace, Mediterranean blue as far as eyes dared to dream. Cemre looked calm, almost weightless. The caption was short, deliberate, and brave, beginning again, without fear. Comments flooded the frame. One rose to the top, liked by thousands. "I hope you find what Gökberk couldn't give you." In one sentence, the comment caught the ache and the hope, the love that almost was, the disappointment that lingered, the chance that still glows on the horizon. As Cemre arranges a new life under Spanish light, and Gökberk navigates Istanbul's muted mornings, this stops being fodder for glib gossip. It becomes a study in the price of ambition and the cost of bravery. What will Barcelona give her? An audience that sees her anew, or the quiet she's earned? Will Gökberk break his silence and risk being vulnerable in front of a world that memorized his strength? Or will he accept the distance, both measured in miles and measured in choice? The future isn't a spoiler, it's a cliffhanger. We also can't ignore the professional subplot that keeps pulsing beneath their private story. According to crew hands and casting chatter, the European show wants to start shooting by late fall. Cemre's schedule has already been mapped, and she's asked for a clause that protects her focus, fewer press commitments, more time with the script, a buffer from distraction. People who know her say she's never been more serious, never more selective, never more certain that the next chapter carries her name alone. And that confidence, new but earned, might be exactly why the decision hurts so much for those left behind. Choices are sharp. They cut ties as cleanly as they open doors. Meanwhile, Gökberk's team has tightened ranks. No statements, no leaks. But a photographer caught him after a late-night gym session, earphones in, gaze down. Someone shouted a question about Barcelona. He didn't look up. That restraint looks like control, yet those around him insist it's the opposite, a man trying not to say what can't be unsaid. Still, there's a quiet respect forming in the silence. He isn't smearing, he isn't chasing cameras, he isn't building a counterstory. Sometimes not talking is a kind of love, too. For the fans keeping vigil, this is where it gets complicated. The same people who cheered their rise must now accept that fairy tales evolve. Love stories can still be love stories even if they end in separate cities. Supporters are organizing watch groups for the new series, promising to push Cemre's work into the European mainstream. Others whisper that they won't give up on the possibility of a reunion once the air is clear and the hurt dissolves into perspective. We've seen it before, timelines split and then curl back toward each other. But we've also seen artists discover a new self and never look back. There is another layer many miss, the city itself. Istanbul can be generous and brutal in the same hour. It nurtures talent and gnaws at boundaries. Barcelona offers a different bargain. It asks for reinvention and repays it with a sense of anonymity that feels like grace. Cemre's move isn't a rejection of where she started. It's a recognition that growth doesn't always bloom in the same soil that sprouted your first successes. And there's power in admitting that out loud, even if only in a caption or a quiet airport pause. So where does this leave us? With a woman who chose to bet on herself, and a man who may be learning what it means to let someone go without closing the door on respect. With a possible masterpiece brewing in Spain and a silence in Istanbul that refuses to turn into noise. With fans who are grieving and cheering at the same time. With a question that refuses an easy answer, was this an ending, or the first scene of something truer? We'll be here, listening carefully, speaking softly when needed and loudly when the moment demands it. Thank you for watching Secrets Behind the Stars. If this story moved you, leave a like, share your thoughts below, and subscribe. And if you want to support the work that keeps us chasing what others ignore, click join to unlock extras designed for our most devoted watchers. We'll keep our eyes open, our feet steady, and our hearts ready for whatever comes next. Until then, look up often and walk forward with intention. Goodbye, for now.